So I'm an engineering student, senior in college, looking for jobs. Very stressful, still not getting any jobs. But I think it's just important to raise awareness to the fact that there's a lot of like engineering students to military defense contractor like pipeline in the United States. A lot of the jobs, a lot of the recruiting that happens at engineering schools, a lot of that goes like to Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, all these companies that are just like massive defense contractors. And it just sort of like sucks because there's nothing you can do about it. And like you look at like job postings in Europe, and a lot of them are for renewable energy and for train development and public transit. And in here, it's like, well, if you're like a genius, you can go to SpaceX, and otherwise you're going to like a defense contractor. And a lot of that's just like a product of like there's so much money for like development of bombers that like that's where the jobs are. But it's also I have like a question for you guys, and you might not have an answer, but like, do you think, as someone who like I want the military budget to go significantly down, I don't want the U.S. military to be all over the world, like, is it moral or ethical for me to like take a job in that field if that's like the only place where I'm going to be able to like get a job? Because like I need to make money, and it like sort of sucks. But what like solutions do you think like engineers that are on the left can like do to try to affect change in this field?
Dude, I don't know. I mean, that's really hard. I'm very much in the camp of like, for the most part, people who are forced by the market into doing something that they otherwise wouldn't want to do. I can't really hold it against you. I think you just have to limit, maybe put a limit on yourself. Like if Lockheed Martin is posting, come build this bomber, I guess maybe you can say that it's not something you want to stick your nose into, and put some limits on yourself. As long as you have some standards, I think you're doing the best you can. But for the most part, it's just like, that's got to be an internal thing with you,
Yeah, I mean, my first like thought is always like, okay, unionize. Like you always want to go and like unionize, because that's always like the best way to affect change as a worker. But it just still sort of like, I don't know, it just sort of feels like shitty that like that's the type of work that I'm most likely going to be doing. But like I also don't have a choice, so it's sort of like a sucky situation. I mean, I don't know if there's like a right answer, but I do think like it's important for us to recognize that like beyond the moral issues, it's also just like so stupid that like instead of like pouring hundreds of billions of dollars into like just general like tech innovation or like renewable energy innovation, we're pouring hundreds of billions of dollars into like developing like bombers and like Apache helicopters and whatever that like really just don't help us at all.
Well, that's why that engineer, I don't know if you heard, Aaron, that engineer that called in the other day that was basically saying the Green New Deal is stupid and not feasible because of the engineering capacity. I mean, how amazing would it be if we had that kind of investment and jobs for you, people who don't want to work in these fields? It would be a land rush.
Emma, when I was listening to that like debate with Sam, I was like hitting my head against the wall. Like it was like such a like classic, I'm an engineer, I know better than everyone else. Like It's just so annoying. Like, I mean, he also was just like wrong. Like he was saying that essentially that like, oh, we can't actually be carbon neutral with the level of like production of concrete and all this other stuff because it's naturally going to produce CO2 emissions. And like that is true, but 60+% of our CO2 emissions come from either transportation or power generation, both of which could very easily be done carbon neutral. There is like about like 10% that comes from like concrete and like and from like steel and whatever, but like a lot of that can be mitigated with carbon capture. And also like if we can cut 90% of our carbon emissions, but we still keep like 10% for like making concrete, that's like fine. Like that's we're gonna be fine. Like that, especially if we like replant like a lot of the deforestation that's happened. Like that's not the issue. That's not like the main thing. And just this idea that like we can't maintain a planet of like 8 billion people without, like, it's just ridiculous. It's just very stupid.
Well, it's a classic thing where, you set up a straw man of if this large goal cannot be achieved, it's not even worth trying. And that's a frustrating thing that I think we encounter a lot in political conversations, all of us.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, thanks for taking my call. Really appreciate the show. Hopefully I'll get in on the phone lines when Sam's there. But a big fan of Matt and Brandon, so still great to talk to you guys.
You got a funny way of showing it, Aaron. You got a funny way of showing it. Have a good one. Bye.
Hey, let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon. And Matt.
Bye.
Sort of.
And Matt. Bye.
Yeah.
Damn, he ended up giving props to everyone but the person he actually spoke to on the phone.
I gotta say, Aaron, I'm a little hurt. Gotta say.